Welcome everyone. Nice to see so many faces here. How many people are not from the Netherlands? Okay. I'm gonna do this talk in English so you guys can hear it as well. My name is JoeySuki. That has been my artist name for over 10 years. And my normal name, my official name is Joey Lelyveld. Who knows me as an artist? Who knows my music? Okay, that's in that case I'm going to give you some context before I'll get started. As I said, my name is Joey. I've been a DJ and producer for over 10 years. I've started out DJing with a drive-in. Like I gathered my own gear and started playing at children's parties and like weddings and those kind of things. From there I started going into the city center of my local town. Started playing there, doing a residency gigs, so every week, Friday, Saturday, playing all night long. That's where I gathered my experience as a DJ. That's where I actually learned how to DJ and how to read the crowd and how to know which track to play. That's also where I played all kind of genres, so not just one, but everything all combined. And that's the moment where I started making music. That's about 8 years ago, 7 years ago, and a completely different time than we're living in right now, because social media wasn't that big at that moment. The internet was there, of course, but not as big as it was right now. So I actually still had to, meet people in real life and shake hands with people and not like them or send them direct messages. So I started to send out my music to labels. Who knows sneakers music? Yeah? Just a few, it's probably the older people in the room. It's an older label. I think it was part of Spinnin' Records, a small part of Spinnin' Records. And that was where most of the big DJ names right now were at that label at that moment. They were talent at that moment, or already a bigger DJ in the Netherlands. Guys like Feddy Legrand, Gregor Salto, those kind of DJs. I started releasing my music on that label, and that's where my name started to buzz around in the Netherlands. So the gigs started coming in the Netherlands, and I started to play in different cities. And as soon as my music hit the internet, Beatport, we all know Beatport, right? At that moment, that platform was more about, well, now it's more tech house techno, but at that moment it was more commercial dance house music. And my track started to chart. Which actually meant that the whole world who was watching the Beatport chart noticed your name and started listening to your music. So my music started to spread out over the whole world. And at the age of 21, I got an email from a guy from South Africa asking me to come over for a tour. And you could have imagined I was excited to go, so I started packing my bags and I was ready to go. But that's where my parents stepped in, because they said, Joey, you're 21, you're just making music on your bedroom upstairs here, and who's this guy? Why is this guy paying for your hotel? Why is this guy paying for your flight? Why can you bring someone with you? And why do you get paid to play in South Africa? Like, how is that possible? And my parents didn't know that guy, I didn't know that guy, so they were afraid, of course. Now I get it, at that I didn't really get it. Anyway, we fixed it, and the guy seemed legit. He was running a big label in South Africa, and he wanted me to tour there and promote a release that I was doing on his label later on. So that was my first tour, and when I came back, that was the moment I decided this is the thing I want to do for the rest of my life. Because what's better than traveling the world, meeting new people, and getting paid for it? So yeah, that's where I actually started to decide that I want to go all into this thing. I was doing music school at that moment, but I wasn't really on my spot there. I wasn't really feeling like that school was helping me to improve my artist career. To me, an artist career is comparable to being a basketball player. You know, like you don't learn how to play basketball in school. You learn on the field. It's the same with being an artist to me. So I decided to drop out and to go all in for my music career at the age of 21. And when I made that decision, which was one of the biggest decisions and the hardest decisions for me in my career, that's where things started to go even harder. I signed at Revealed Recordings. I released a lot of tracks on that label. I released a lot of music on Spinnin', on Toolroom, on Defected. I've released a lot of music on a lot of big labels. I've had a collaboration with Hardwell. And then we come to 2014, so that's 5 years ago now. Yep, 5. The biggest year of my career. I was touring the whole world. I was playing at Tomorrowland, playing at Creamfields, Ibiza, Asia, America, everywhere. And that's where I hit the burnout. I was asked to do a small mini tour in India. Who's been in India? One? It's a completely different country than where we live in right now. Everything's different, but that shouldn't be the problem. But to me it was, because at that moment I was already kind of burned out mentally and physically, and then I decided to go to India, where everything went completely wrong. Those 5 days were one bad trip for me. I was crying in my hotel room. I only wanted to Skype with my parents or with my girlfriend. I was only thinking about going home, having panic attack after panic attack. I thought people wanted to attack me on the streets. That's how freaky my mind was at that moment. So every moment I was in that country, I was afraid, I was stressed, and I wanted one thing, and that was going home. That's not a good thing, but that's, I think, logical that that's not a good thing. So when I came back, the first thing I said to my mom was, "Mom, I need to go to a psychologist, because this is not how it's supposed to be. You know, like, this is something I would like to do for the rest of my life. This is something I enjoyed a few years ago. I've worked hard to get here, and now I'm feeling this. So I need to go to a psychologist." Since it was the busiest year of my career, I kept on touring, because the bookings were already scheduled and they were already paid for. The tickets were booked, the flights were booked, the hotels were booked. So I kept on touring, and at the same time I started visiting the psychologist to see what was actually going on, because I was still having panic attack after panic attack. Every time I entered the plane, immediately panic attack. Like, my heart started pounding, I started sweating. I just wanted to get out of there. And that's not the best thing you can have as a DJ who's traveling the world. So after visiting the psychologist a few times, I noticed that really wasn't helping me, because she only gave me a few tips about how to handle a panic attack and what it actually was, but it didn't solve the problem to me. I was still feeling shitty, I was still feeling unhappy, and my schedule kept being fuller and fuller and fuller. So at the end of 2014, when I was already after the busiest summer of my career, I collapsed. I canceled the tour in Asia, which was a 2-week tour, completely fully booked, but I just couldn't manage to get out of bed and be happy with it, and to actually enter the plane. I just woke up crying, and I just wanted one thing: stay at home. So I picked up my phone, called my manager and my booker and said, "Whatever's gonna happen, I don't care what you have to do, cancel it. I'm not going." But that was the day I was leaving for the tour. So imagine the problems the promoters were getting into, I was getting into, the managers, the bookers, everyone I was working with was getting into. I was in a big problem at that moment. And it was going to cost me a lot of money, because all those flights and hotels, I had to pay it back. But at that moment, I really didn't care. I just said, I want to stay here because I'm not capable of getting out of bed. That's in what a bad state I was at that moment. So to me, that was a click to say, like, okay, this is literally not doable anymore. I need to figure something out before I even continue DJing, because this is just not human anymore. And then I went to a coach, and he actually helped me figuring out more about myself. I needed to do a career test and a personal test. Those things should match. The job that you do should match you as a person. Yeah, like, if you work with people, you should do a job where you work with people. If you like to work alone, you should do a job where you work alone. Otherwise, you feel uncomfortable every day, you know? At that moment, I really thought that the job that I was doing, being a DJ and being a producer, was the thing that I was doing. And what I wanted to be doing, because it's the best job in the world, right? How could it be possible to not like that? And I filled in the test, like 40, 50 questions, you know, those questions where it's actually 3 questions keep repeatedly asked in a different sentence. That's one of those tests. The result got in, and it should be like this, but it was actually this. And I was like, okay, what the hell is this? You know, like every point that I was doing in my career, the traveling, the stress, the networking part, everything that was in it misfitted my personality. And that's where every little piece of the puzzle fell together to me. All the things that happened in the past, all the weird moments I had in my career, all the bad moments I had in my career, all made sense. And that all happened because I was doing a job that I wasn't made for doing, actually. I just became a DJ. I never decided to actually become a DJ. I just became one because it all started with this little hobby. You know, I started playing at people's homes and all those kind of things. And after 10 years of time, I was playing Tomorrowland and I was traveling, but I never made a conscious decision to actually become a DJ. How weird that may sound. So that kind of is my story in a nutshell. Why I named this talk, Why the Music Industry Isn't About Music, is because in my career, I've experienced a lot of things. I've done releases on big labels, I've done releases on small labels, big names, little names, everything. And now being out of the industry for a couple of years, now I can see things clearly from above, from eagle-eye vision. And I keep seeing it more and more. The music industry isn't about music. And of course, it's a bit double because there has to be music, otherwise you're not an artist. So yes, you need to have music. But having music isn't the only thing. And you really need more than just music. And what I see happening with most producers out here and most DJs is that they keep focusing on making music, like producing music 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week. And what they forget is that when the track's finished, you're not finished. That's where things get started for you. Like that's where you have to start putting your music into the world, market it, brand yourself, do social media, do the networking part, all the things that come to an artist's career, which will actually get you to that next level. Because just making music and putting it out there, uploading it on Spotify through TuneCore or DistroKid or whatever service you use, simply isn't enough. Because if no one knows you, no one's going to look for you. So you first need to build yourself an artist name. How did I find out? I was the same as those guys who are doing that right now, like just making music and that's it. I was 21 years old, and that's where I did the collaboration with Hardwell. Hardwell was really buzzing at that moment. He just entered the DJ Mag Top 100 at 21, 22. So the world was looking at what he was doing. He was a big talent who was a rise, and everyone was looking what he was doing. So having a collaboration with him at that moment was a big opportunity. And at that moment, I was still that young little kid who was just making music. I never thought about branding myself or marketing myself. So the track was finished, and I came back home and I said to my friends, like, oh yeah, I have this collaboration with Hardwell and blah, blah, blah. And one of my friends said, dude, what did you just say? It's like, yeah, do you know Hardwell? So yeah. It's like, I have a collaboration with him. Okay, and what's your plan? I said, plan? You know, what do you mean plan? Like, it's a release, it's going to be released on Revealed. That's it, that's the plan. Okay, but you're not going to do something with it, you know, like he's this big name, a lot of people are looking at him. You can take a lot of advantage out of this to get your name to the next level. And I started looking at him saying like, yeah, how? You know, like I get what you mean, but how? Because I only know how to make music and I only know how to DJ and that's it. And he actually studied marketing, so that was convenient to me because otherwise I was lost. So he started helping me to market my music and to brand my artist name. And from that moment on, we started challenging each other. We started creating, games actually. At that moment, Facebook was really getting bigger and bigger, so likes were still a big thing at that moment. And we started challenging each other, saying like, hey, if this post gets 100 likes, I will give you beer. If this post gets 200 likes, I will take you out to dinner, those kind of things. And somehow that fueled me, because I'm a competitive guy, and I don't care what I can win. As long as I win, I'm good at it. I want to win. So that really helped me to get me engaged in this marketing story, because otherwise I wouldn't be interested at all. I was just interested in making music. After a few years, I started seeing the value of it. We had a plan. My friend called it face marketing, as in everything you do, put your face on it, covers, every social media post, all these things. And he already told me, like, as soon as you start to do those things, you will notice in a few months that people will actually start recognizing you. Because if there's not a face connected to the name, they will just walk across you. You know, they won't even know who you are. And so he asked me, would you like to be known with your face? Like, yeah, why not? You know, it would be nice. So we started doing face marketing, like putting my face on everything. If you have a look back at my older releases, most of those covers have my face on it. Doesn't make sense at all, because why would you do that? But still, we did it. I think that was a selfie period time as well, where people started taking selfies. I started doing that a lot to show people my face and to connect my face to the brand. And it's actually fun, because I still notice the effect of it now. I was walking around on Dancefair today. People still recognize me by my face. That would have never happened if I didn't connect my face to the brand, right? So that's why I started really to see the value of marketing and marketing your music and branding yourself as an artist, and how important that is, because just making music and releasing it on those platforms isn't enough. So that was the main thing I wanted to go to today. What I always think is the most valuable of moments like these, you know, like normally maybe a few of you who watches my content online. Okay, perfect. Normally you will watch videos of me online and you don't really have the opportunity to ask me questions or whatever. So I would like to use these kind of moments to make it more personal and to actually let you leave with some personal value. So if you would like to ask me something, if there's something you're struggling with in your career, or if you're struggling with marketing or branding, who has a question? Yep.
So you said you had trouble in the end with your DJ career, and you figured out that you didn't, like, your personality wasn't with the DJ career. So what do you do now? Do you still DJ, or?
No, good question. I actually forgot that part. Yeah, what I do now. After I found out that things were didn't really work out for me, it all made sense. And I immediately know I just have to stop. I have to stop this, because I'm just torturing myself to keep doing this. And at that moment, I was already in a really bad place. So quitting wasn't the hardest decision for me. It just was a relief, actually, because now I can get all that stress out of me. And then the whole period after that came a period of finding yourself, you know, like that kind of wavy stuff. It actually was with me as well. I started reading books. I started, having more interest in what actually happens in your mind and why my body's reacting to certain things. And then I started thinking, like, what was the thing that I was missing in my own artist career, and what may have prevented this from happening? Because my own coach actually came to me a few years later and said, I think if we did 5 or 10 more sessions, you would still be touring. And I said, no, I don't think so, because I actually really know that I don't want to do this for a living, and I don't want to be away from home that much. I want to be with family. I want to be with friends. But that made me thinking, like, what could have helped me to prevent this, or what did I miss myself in my career? Was there something I could have used which wasn't available? And to me, that was a coach. That was something that someone that I could trust in this industry. It's a great feeling to have someone in the industry that you can actually trust. Someone that is neutral, so that isn't connected to you financially, because bookers and managers are connected to you financially. They make percentages of your income. So if you make money, they make money, and if you stop making money, they stop making money. So I didn't want that, because in my opinion, you can't be 100% neutral if you're connected to someone financially. In the back of your head, you always take it with you when a decision has to be made. So I started to take all those things that I thought, like, you know, I miss this and I miss that, and this would have been great if I had that. And to me, that was a coach. And I started Googling, like, does this is this a thing? You know, like, did I completely miss this, or is it just not? Doesn't it exist? And I didn't really found one. I found one or two, but they didn't really do what I wanted to do. So I just started it myself, and I started a new company called Artist Coaching. So the name makes sense. And right now I'm doing this for 2.5 years, and I'm helping artists to build their career in mental coaching, business coaching, and strategic coaching. So making actual plans and having goals and working towards it, and also offering it to the bigger DJs, to the guys who are touring the world and are having other problems than the younger guys. And that's where the more mental stuff comes in. So that's what I do right now. Thanks. Any other questions? Could be really anything about the music industry.
Is there any bits that you miss? So I appreciate that it all got too much. Do you ever miss the buzz of playing in front of a big crowd or anything? Or did you
if I missed it?
Yeah, do you miss the buzz? Do you know what I mean?
Well, what I found out is that it was comparable to some kind of drug. As in, at least I think I'm a really down-to-earth guy. I always thought I was a really down-to-earth guy. So I always thought that the music industry didn't affect me that much. You know, like, I always thought that I was still the same guy as I've always been when I started this. And what I found out is when I quit, I did change. And that was really confrontating to me to see that it did affect me in several ways. To give you an example, when I was feeling really shitty and I was living back in my parents' place because my whole life started to go down, my relationship ended, my job was gone, so I was literally rock bottom. And I was lost in my own thoughts, and I just kept going around and around and around. And then my mom said, you know what? You have to go out of the door and have to do something, you know, to get out of your mind and to work, do something. And because I actually never really worked, you know, I never worked for a boss. I started DJing at the age of 14, started making money at that age, and I could make a living from that age. So I never really had a job. So she said, you know, why not get a job? Just to experience it and to see what it does to you as a person. So at that moment I opened Facebook, and there was some person from my local town. They were looking for someone to work in a factory. Well, actually distribution center, clothing distribution center. For 3 months, just temporary. And my mom said, do it, it's perfect. It's just 3 months, it's like rehab, you know, like you go in there, it's a completely different world. You'll work with people who don't know shit about music, don't know shit about you, don't know shit about whatever's going on in your industry. It's perfect, do it. And that's where the first thing kicked in. Me taking the step to actually go back and work in a factory, that was hard. And I always thought, I wouldn't care because I was this down-to-earth guy, you know, like why would I care about working in a factory, because it's still a job. But still, it was so hard for me to make that decision because somehow I put myself up on a pedestal.
It's humbling.
Just, yeah, somehow that happened. So that was the first thing, and then I started working, and the first month, every minute of the day I was thinking, why am I working here for 1,000 euros a month while I was making 1,000 euros a gig? You know, like that just fucked with my mind. And that was confronting to me because I was getting scared of my own thoughts. I would have never expected that I became that person. I always thought I was still that little Joey guy who just liked making music, and that's it. So, what's your question?
Yeah, no, just about whether you missed the buzz.
Oh yeah, missed the buzz. Yeah, sorry. When and that's where the drugs came in, as in the feeling of the drugs. I was completely done with the music industry at first. Like, I started unfollowing everyone, every little thing that connected me to the music industry. I started to push it out and disconnect me from it. After a year or two, that passion started to come back. So that little fire started to burn again. Like, I wanted to listen to new music. I wanted to go and look out for new music. Like, scroll through Beatport and find those little pearls in there, you know. So that's where it all started again. So I decided I'm going to festivals again, but this time I'm going as a visitor, which was new as well, because I was only used to being backstage and everything was arranged, and I've not seen that many shows from the front. I actually had to buy my own ticket, first time, you know, like all those things. That was weird to me. And when I was at that festival, I only missed it when I was in the moment. So when I saw the DJ playing, I was visiting Axwell and Ingrosso at that moment. I'm a big fan of those guys, and they have a great show. And I was standing there, it was perfect summer weather, and I was like, fuck, why do I have to quit? You know, it's such easy money, it's so fun to do, blah, blah. You have a lot of reasons to do it, but you forget all the reasons why you stop doing it. So when we left the festival, I think a day later, I started to realize, like, no, it's just a fling. But still, when I watch like documentaries of Swedish House Mafia or Hardwell or even the Avicii one, somehow it gets me going, you know, like, yeah, it started, that little fire starts to burn again, and I have to push it down because I know it's not smart to get back in. And that's the same with drugs, you know, like you want it, but you know it's bad for you. So yeah, so it's still there, but I'm really conscious of the fact, really aware of the fact that that's not the best decision for me. So yeah. Any other questions? No? Cool. A lot of you are already looking at my content, so thank you for that. That's great. If you still aren't, I'm giving away a lot of advice just for free on YouTube, SoundCloud. There's a podcast you can listen to. It's in iTunes, it's in Spotify. And yeah, there's just a shitload of content out there. So if you're interested, or if you want to learn something, or just want to get inspired, or whatever your reason may be to follow me, there's a lot of shit out there. So please feel free to look up. And if you ever have a question, like if you walk out of the room and feel like, shit, I want to ask him that question, just send me a message, direct message on Instagram or Facebook, and I'm really active there. So I will get back to you really quick. And for now, I just want to thank you for taking the time to sit here and not in another room, which is all available. Yes? Thank you.